Let's fill out our analysis of variance table in Excel. We'll start over here with our degrees of freedom. We have three groups. So our degrees of freedom for treatment, or our between degrees of freedom, is our number of groups minus 1. So that gives us 3 groups minus 1 for 2 degrees of freedom. Our total degrees of freedom is our total sample size minus 1. Then our remaining degrees of freedom, our within degrees of freedom, or error degrees of freedom, is the difference between these, because our degrees of freedom have to add up to total. So there we go, 12 within degrees of freedom. Our total sums of squares, not that we actually are going to use this, but it's good to fill out our entire table, is the sum of each of our sums of squares. For our mean squares, we take the sums of squares divided by their respective degrees of freedom. Our F ratio is the ratio of mean squares, always with the within or error degrees of freedom on the bottom line. And there we go, we've got our F statistic. Now we can calculate our p-value in Excel. Usually we would let Enterprise Guide do this, but if we wanted to do everything in Excel, we can use the formula f.dist.right, because we want the right tail of this distribution. We're only interested in high extreme values of our F statistic. We need 3 arguments, the F ratio that we calculated, and the 2 degrees of freedom, starting with the between and the within degrees of freedom. So we get a very small number, 0.00004684. This is much, much less than our 5% threshold, so we would reject our null hypothesis of equality of means in favor of our alternative hypothesis that the means were not all equal.